Okay, in this app, we're going to look at how to use the cosine rule to find an angle. In particular, the conditions that must be met are that three sides must be all given in their length. Like for instance here, by default we kick off with 4.1, 7.1 and 8.8. So let's take a closer look. So it's quite easy to understand the initial condition. What we look at here is if you want to calculate a side angle A, side length A is the odd one out. If you want to calculate side B, angle B, side length B will be the odd one out in the formula. And if you want to calculate angle C, side length C will be the odd one out in the formula. You'll see more about that as we move through the calculation. Just one thing is, subtraction is not commutative, but addition is. Okay. Looking at the pairings, the red pairing will be the one of interest, because in this calculation we will have both cos of A, which comes from angle A, and side length A. The other pairings don't really matter as such because we don't want the angles. We only need that length 7.1 and we only need that length 8.8. Not too sure what to do with this now. Let's drop it back to the beginning and let's look at the working. So the first working is, you may or may not in class have taken the cosine rule from the log tables and rearranged it into this format. If you haven't, you can substitute and work your way backwards from the original formula. The end result's the same. If you get it into this form and you learn this formula off, it's a good starting point. It really just depends on how much work you're going to do and how competent you are in algebra. So the thing to note about this is, if you're calculating A, side A is the odd one out and it only appears once as a minus A squared. So you kick off using the other two lengths. It doesn't matter which goes first. Okay? So it doesn't matter whether you do 7.1 squared plus 8.8 squared. The important thing is they're flanking the angle you're calculating. They're at either side of the angle you're calculating. So you shouldn't worry about whether it's 7.1 squared first or 8.8 squared first. It doesn't really matter. But once you've them both squared and added to each other, you will then subtract the opposite side to the angle you're calculating, which is 4.1 squared. Now you're done with 4.1 at this point. You draw a big long fraction line and you start putting in double. Don't forget the double. It's not a parameter from the calculation as such. It's always there. It's part of the equation no matter what. Times 7.1 times 8.8. Now think a kind of higher order level of thinking here is, how come it doesn't matter what order they go in? Well, addition is commutative, which means they can be swapped. And here you have multiplication, which is also commutative. Okay, so they can be swapped. And even here you could have said 8.8 by 7.1. Now, that'll get us the cos of the angle, which must be larger than minus 1 and less than 1. Okay, and then we go on to calculate the actual angle, which is 27.3 degrees. Thank you.